Karma Fashion TV presents
Your Fashion District. Your way to meet celebrities. Presented by Wesly Ray. Create, style, inspire. Karma Fashion TV, the heart of fashion.
Hi, my name is Jim Jordan. I'm a celebrity fashion photographer director. I'm excited for my interview with Wesly at Karma Fashion TV. Stay tuned.
only at Karma Fashion TV. Coming up.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, at Karma Fashion TV. Today we do have one of the biggest notable figure, one of the biggest elegant celebrities, fashion photographer, producers, director, entrepreneur, multi-talented person. Jim Jordan Photography has been featured on the biggest magazine in the world, Marie Claire, Vanity Fair, Elle, Vogue, and so on. And his work with the biggest celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Whitney Houston, Jessica Alba, as well as many others. And he's a talent scout manager who has discovered the biggest celebrities in a media platform like Gigi Hadid, Taylor Hills, Jeremy Mix. Not to mention, guys, not to forget to mention, he's a self-taught style photographer. Fall from heaven, guys. I can't believe. Welcome, ladies. I'm very excited to have an interview today with you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, man.
Great to meet
Thank
you.
you. I've been honored, man, to have you here. Really.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It is an honor, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming in. Welcome to Karma Fashion TV studio.
Thank you.
So, let me start from the beginning, you know.
Sure.
When did you first realize you wanted to pursue a career as a fashion photographer, since you were initially as a great makeup artist, hairstylist, you know, booked with a lot of directors back in the days. Let's start from the beginning. You were grown kids with a skateboard, man, hitchhiking people everywhere. Tell me, man, we can't wait to tell us the story, man. We're waiting for it.
Thank you. So thank you for having me.
Man,
I
thank you, man.
appreciate
It's an
you.
honor, man.
I grew up as a kid here in the San Fernando Valley near Calabasas. And I was a surfer skater and skating, hitchhiking back in the day. When everything was good, you could hitchhike to get around. I didn't have any jobs, and we were just like kids roaming around in the beach and this and that. And I had a friend in my junior high school. Her name was Tina. And she came back to school on Monday, and she said, I got discovered by a man named John Casablanca, and he's flying me to New York to make me a model. And I was like, what?
Was she shopping, right?
Like, she was just this young girl, a Dutch girl that I knew, blonde. She was like 5'9", beautiful girl, my best friend. And so the next thing I know, she was whisked out of my life. She moved to New York with her mom, and then I started seeing her on all these magazine covers. And I was like, I remember the story of the man that came up to her and gave her her business card and took her life and changed her life forever. And I was like, that man has the coolest job I've ever heard of. And I never knew anything about models, model agencies, scouts, any of that. So I went and got a little business card and I bought my name on it. I put my mom's phone number on it. I lived with my parents. I was young, 8th grade. And so I used to hitchhike and go to all the schools. And I'd hitchhike and skateboard to all the high schools, junior highs, and I'd go in and I'd find girls that I thought could be models. And I'd do their hair and bring them to my next door neighbor, had a camera, and I'd beg him to take pictures of these kids that I was bringing over to his house. He thought he was gonna get a girlfriend out of it, but these kids were like coming, they were like 14, 15-year-old kids, stand with their moms. And I would do their makeup and their hair just for the photos, because he was taking the pictures. I would say, crop her like this, or shoot her from the shoulders up. And so he started taking the pictures. After like the 5th model I brought to him that I was trying to discover these kids, he was done taking pictures. He's like, I'm over this. Every day there's new models at my house, kids that you're discovering. Take my camera. I'm done. I'm never doing this again for you. So he gave me his camera. His name was Greg Glassman. He was my best friend. And I was like kicking and screaming, like, I don't know how to do this. I'm afraid of the camera. I don't know how to use this camera. Like, please don't leave me, bro. We're in this together. You're my best friend. And he goes, I'm not doing this anymore for you. And you're giving me a full-time job. I'm done with this. So I ended up so he put it on a tripod. I'm like, I'm afraid to hold it. I'm afraid to break it. I don't know how to load it with film. Please, bro. And so he put it on the tripod. He goes, you don't even need to hold the effing thing anymore. Just click it on, put it on P. Here's how you load the film. Go, bye. So I was on my own scouting, and I continued finding girls and models, bring them into the modeling agencies. I bring the film, the contact sheet I was shooting, and every model I brought into the agencies, like Ford and Elite and Wilhelmina at the time, they would sign every model I brought in. They're like, dude, you're so young. How are you doing this? Where are you finding these kids? You have an amazing eye. These pictures are beautiful you're taking, and the makeup and the hair is really, really good. Who's doing it? And I said, I'm doing it. They're like, how do you know hair and makeup? Like, why don't you get an agent to represent you? We're sending all the models you're finding to Milan. So all the kids I was finding, the girls, they were sending them off to Milan. And they're like, you should go to Milan with some of these kids you're finding and do makeup and hair for photographers and learn photography. And I was like, I don't want to be a photographer. I don't really want to be a hairdresser. I just want to discover talent and make people famous. That's why I'm doing this. And they're like, no, but you're really good at it. So some other things happened, some tragic things happened in my life at that time, and I ended up having to run away from home. And I bought a one-way ticket to Milan. And so I ended up living in the park in Milan for 6 months. And I had the pictures that I had been taking. I took them with me there in my backpack. Went into the modeling agencies. I had no money. I was living homeless in Milan. And I went to a model agency called Fashion there. And the owner of the agency came out and met me. And I was like literally broke. I had no money and like crying like, I'm from California. They didn't speak hardly any English and I need help. I'm living in the park. And before I came here, I was finding models, discovering models in all the schools. And here are some of the models I started finding. I was doing the makeup and the hair. And I took these photos, and he grabbed all the contact sheets. And he was like, oh my God, where are these girls? I want to represent them. And he just said, look, what do you want to do here? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll do anything. And he goes, and I go, I did the makeup and the hair in these pictures. He goes, well, why don't you go work for photographers here in Milan? I'll make meetings for you to go meet magazines and photographers. Long story short, he started making calls for me. I ended up going on meetings, meeting magazines. I got a lucky break working for Grazia magazine in Milan. I did like 7 covers, and then I started working, making money. I moved out of the park, got a pension, and I started doing makeup and hair for photographers in Milan. I ended up working for Harper's Bazaar and Vogue and all the huge magazines, and I was there for 3 years. And I started my makeup and hair career. I came back to Los Angeles when I was 19. I was 16 when I left. And then when I left back to California, I was 19. And I started, went and got a hair and makeup agent that represents hair and makeup people for all the celebrities and photographers. And I had a portfolio with a bunch of Harper's and Vogue and all my stuff that I did in Italy. And I became a celebrity hair and makeup person. I started traveling with Whitney Houston and Elizabeth Taylor, Sophie Loren. I was doing Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell.
Farrah Fawcett.
All the famous actresses, Farrah Fawcett, Jeff Bridges, Nick Cage. Yeah, so I started working doing makeup and hair for photographers like Herb Ritz and Helmut Newton and Stephen Meisel and Peter Lindbergh and all the legend photographers. And I'd sit on set and I'd watch these major photographers. And I never really had an inkling to be a photographer, but there were a lot of jobs I would do, and I'd see the photographers like, these people don't even know what they're doing, like how they're lighting it or how they're talking to the girl or directing.
No vibe.
There was just no vibes. And I get so many jobs I do, and the photographers had no vibe, they didn't know what I felt I knew. And so for years, I did hair and makeup for 15 years, standing on the side of photographers watching lighting, watching how they directed, watching why some of them were really famous and rich and why some of them were just normal. And I just sat there and watched. And so I'd walk and work with Farrah Fawcett all day, and I'd walk her out to her car in the parking lot, and I'd have my little camera in my hair and makeup bag. And I'd say, hey, Farrah, can I take a couple pictures of you? And she'd be like,
to the beach, yeah.
she'd like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I have my camera in my backpack. And she goes, of course. So I'd get her up against the brick wall in the parking lot, and I'd flip her upside down, fix her hair, and I'd take pictures. And I'd be on the beach with Cindy Crawford, and I took pictures of Cindy, and all the actresses and models that I started working with. I would take pictures after work on the side. And I became friends with a lot of them, and became friends and set up shoots, and I take all the pictures and hide them in a black box.
11 by 14, right?
My 11 by 14 prints I'd make, and I'd hide them in my closet. And I never told any photographers, anybody, that I took pictures, because my makeup career, they would never book me again if they knew I was taking pictures. Because back in the 80s, back in the day, it was very competitive, and photographers were very secretive and competitive, thinking everyone was going to steal their tricks. Yeah. So I never said anything. Long story short, I had a box of 11 by 14 prints of tons of photos I never talked about. I was on set with J. Crew. I did all the makeup and hair on all the J. Crew catalogs and all the trips they'd go. I cut the owner's hair, Emily, and I was on set, and they'd always stand me next to the photographers, and they'd go, JJ, we want you to direct the talent. And one of the models came up to her and says, why do you always have him direct the talent? Isn't that the photographer's job? He's the makeup guy. And every job I'm on with you, you have him basically art directing all the shoots. Why don't you just give him a camera and let him shoot? And she's like, he doesn't shoot. And she goes, yeah, he does shoot, and he's effing amazing, and he doesn't tell anybody. She's like, what are you talking about? She goes, JJ, I've known you for 10 years. You've never mentioned a word about you taking pictures. Why don't you tell me? I want to see your portfolio. I'm like, I don't have a portfolio. She goes, well, she goes, what do you have? And I'm like, I have a black box of pictures that are stuffed in my closet that I don't show anybody, and I'm not taking pictures to show people. So I go, I don't want to be compared to, and I don't want to be judged, and they're like my diary. It's people and places I go in my life that I want to document, and those are for me. And so she says, if you don't show me those pictures, I'll never work with you again. I'm like, are you joking? And I always had the voices in my head where like, you're not technical, you're not talented enough, you don't know how to use a light meter, you don't know how to really work a camera, all the technical stuff that happens besides the way things look. And the voices always told me that I could never compete with these major photographers I worked with. My family, I didn't come from the right family, I didn't have the support system that I thought all these rich photographers had. And the voices always had kept in my head like you can never do this. And so she forced me to show her pictures. She says, I'll never work with you ever again if you don't show me your pictures. That's how serious I am. And I'm like, Emily, are you joking me? She's like, I'm not joking. She goes, you're coming to New York in 2 weeks. I want to see that black box. So I smoked, went to New York. I got my black box in my backpack. I got my skateboard, smoked a big fatty, skateboarded uptown, so nervous, freaked out. And she called in all the art directors and she said, Jim's here to show us his pictures. So she threw it on the table. She threw it on the table and all the art directors were like, what do you mean Jim's pictures? He doesn't have big. She goes, yeah, he's been taking pictures for years, we hear, and he's never told anybody. And he's going to show us his photos. So I threw it on the table and I walked over to the door with my back to them because I didn't want to see him looking at my pictures. So I had my face out the window. I was just looking out the window as they were.
You didn't want to hear anything.
I didn't want to, I just didn't, I just was scared, really. I was afraid of being judged and compared, and I was like, it was just a weird thing that I always had. Like the demons, the voices in my head were always like, just always really loud and really telling me stuff to keep me fearful and keep me from going through the things I was afraid of to get through the miracles. And so they all were looking at all these pictures. They're like, oh my God, how do you know Whitney Houston? And how do you know Farrah Fawcett? How do you know all these people?
Took them to the beach, man.
And I basically was like, I've been working doing makeup and hair. These are my clients. I don't really talk a lot about myself to people. And they were like, and there were all these pictures of these rugby players in Milan in the rain. And I had all their shirts off and they had mud all over them. I had their rugby rackets and I got them together, arms around each other, like big group shots with and portraits and like the Italian flag behind them and just like old school black and white prints. And Emily, the owner of J. Crew, was like, we want you to do this for us. She goes, I'm giving you your first job as a photographer and I want you to shoot this for us, exactly like this. So that was my break. I started shooting for J. Crew, and then Emily was like, it's time for you to lay down your brushes. Like, you're so talented, you're really, really good, and you have an incredible eye. And I was fighting her, like, no way. I have a house, I have my things, like, I could never be a photographer. I'd lose everything, I'd go broke. I don't know what I'm doing. And she goes, it's time you lay down your brushes and take this serious. You are really talented. And I was like, she goes, you need to get an agent in New York and represent you as a photographer, and I want you to go meet some people I know. So she gave me a paper with like 6 agents on it. And she's like, you're going to meet these people. So I went, I skateboarded around, and I met this one agent that first day. And she goes, Jim, are you a maker? She goes, are you Jim? I walked in, she goes, hi, are you Jim? I'm like, yeah. She goes, you're a photographer? I go, no, I'm not a photographer, I'm a makeup artist. She goes, well, we represent photographers, what are you here for? And I'm like, well, Emily at J. Crew asked me to shoot some pictures for them, and she's been bugging me to come and meet photo reps. I take pictures on the side, but I don't really call myself a photographer. I don't tell people I take pictures, but I shot some pictures for J. Crew. And so I go, here's some of my pictures, and I gave her the black box, and she opened it up and was like, oh my God, what? How did you shoot all these movie stars and all of these supermodels? And I'm like, I did makeup and hair, and I meet these people on set, I take pictures. And then she goes, hold on a minute. She's like, gets on the phone, she's like, Renee, this is Bonnie in New York. I'm about to sign a photographer I am so sure you're gonna love. I will never, ever, ever send another photographer for you to see. So she convinced me to leave the book with her, that she was gonna FedEx it to Chicago. 2 days later, she called me up and she goes, are you sitting down? And I go, what's up? You lost my pictures? You lost my book? I was freaked out that she was giving me bad news.
Yeah.
And that she had a FedEx it to Chicago. I didn't even know what FedEx was at the time. So she's like, no, the client, Leo Burnett, just booked you. It's the biggest advertising agency in the world. They just booked you for a 14-day job for Bloomingdale's advertising.
Bloomingdale, it's very
And
sharp.
I was like, are you kidding? She goes, no, they love your pictures. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. She's like, what are you effing talking about? I go, Bonnie, I can't, I'm not a photographer. I don't know how to plug in power packs and strobes, and I'm not technical. She goes, you get your ass back to New York and you hold that little camera up to your eye and you look through that hole and you see something beautiful. You push your finger down.
Take a capture.
She goes, I will have the owner of the lab next to you. I'll have 3 of the best photo assistants there. I have the motorhomes, the caterers, the locations. I will produce this job unreal. You just look through that effing hole and click the button when you see something you like, and you come back. And I was like scared to death. I was like, the money's amazing, huge money. I'm like, everyone's relying on me. Like, this is crazy, the pressure. So I went back and I went and met pulled up, skateboarded uptown, walked up. It was at the library on Fifth Avenue. There were 2 motorhomes, like 30 people milling around. And the art director walked over and she goes, hi, are you with the crew? And I'm like, is this for Bloomingdale's? She's like, yeah, what's your name? And I go, Jim Jordan. She's like, oh, Jim, I'm Renee, and I'm the one that hired you. And she goes, sit down. Do you want a cigarette? I'm like, no, I'm good. She goes, sit with me. I want to talk to you. I'd love to get to know you. So she goes, where are you from? What do you do? What do you read? And she goes, can I tell you why I hired you? And I was like, tell me. And she goes, I see portfolios every day from all the biggest photo reps in the world. And when I saw your black box with all these 11 by 14 loose prints, I was like, who sends their pictures out loose, like beautiful prints like this that people can hold? They're not even in plastic. She goes, and then when I started looking through your pictures, it was a look in the people's eyes that I wanted to meet you. Because I wanted to meet the person that people were looking at like that. And I was like, you wanted to meet me because the way people looked at me? She's like, yeah. And so she gave me my job. I did my first job there.
That's time.
Sorry.
No worry. Be yourself, man.
And so that was it. I got on a train. It felt like I got on a train. I did that 14-day job for Bloomingdale's. And it was changed my life. It was amazing. I had the best team. I had the best assistants. I did what I do. I looked and found things beautiful, and I talked to people, and I let people feel what I felt. And I captured it. And it was amazing, and it was scary. And
your own image, your own creative.
Yeah. And then like a few days into my shoot, my agent, her name was Bonnie, she said, we're going to the dinner with the editor of American Vogue, Ivan Shaw. And so we went to dinner after Ivan, and I started sharing my life with Ivan and talking to him. And he was like, dude, I like you, and I want to give you a job. I want you to shoot for Vogue. And so he started working with me. Like every week, I started getting jobs with Ivan and started shooting for American Vogue. And then Bonnie just was like, you're amazing to work with. We love you. Clients love you. They love your vibe. Like, people see your pictures, but then when they meet you, you just lock in the deal. And so I started shooting, and then boom, it went on. I got on this fast train, and it just started moving so fast. And I kept wanting to jump off. Like, I gotta get off. They're gonna find out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just winging this stuff. Like, I didn't know I could do it. And so I kept wanting to get off this train, and then boom, Bonnie just started booking me on campaigns for Visa, MasterCard, and I was shooting for Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Saks and Marie Claire and Elle and Vogue, and J. Crew continued to book me, and Lord & Taylor, and like so many clients.
Yeah, biggest brand.
And I was like on a roll, like I couldn't believe this even had happened to me. And I was every day on set, going all over the world, Bahamas and Miami and booking in New York and Hawaii, back to back to back to back jobs. And I was literally like in shock that this happened like this. And I still felt and still do feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
All of a sudden, yeah.
I still feel that way. I still feel like I'm a photographer. Like, even when I was a makeup artist, I never felt like a makeup artist. I never felt like I had a badge or a label like defined who I was. I really didn't know what an artist was. So I started work. So my agent, Bonnie Winston, it was the agency was called Winston West, started booking me on crazy jobs. Like, I never dreamed like the jobs that I was getting. And so I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes and I learned a lot, but the most thing I learned was how to communicate and how to make people feel comfortable, and to give what I wanted to give, have them give me, I was to give them that. And I just fell in love with taking pictures of people, and on that level, like I was a makeup artist for many years, hairdresser, but now I was a photographer that I could go in and do the makeup and hair if I wanted. And I learned so much from being behind the scenes doing makeup and hair. So once I got the camera in my hand, I knew what I was looking for as the photographer, with the clothes and knowing how to style and knowing how to prep everything, how the hair should look, how to communicate to the hair people and the makeup people exactly what I wanted. And then to do storyboards and mood boards for my shoots. Every shoot I'm doing, I do a beautiful mood board, so I show the talent. Here's what we're going for. I get them excited and I show them my vision prior to even getting them on set. And just starting the dialogue and the communication with people and just falling in love with people. That's what I do. And I want to hold their hand and like have them be the best they can be. And so those are what I think I excelled as a photographer because of my communication skills and the way I direct people. Any people that come and work with me, they're like, whoa, what we learned from you on set is how you direct and how you talk to people and make people feel so comfortable and loved. And those are why I do what I do. So my career happened unexpected, and
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, and I never knew I would ever be a photographer, and it's the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me.
Great, man. Great story.
Thank you.
Great story. Thank you for sharing this story. We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, mate.
Really. So let me ask you this: you're an owner for 3 businesses, you know, Jim Jordan Photographer, you know, handle a lot of fashion photographer and so on, and White Cross Management, and it has represented a lot of celebrities, Gigi Hadid, Taylor Hills, and so on, and as well actors, musicians, all the entertainment industry as well. And you also owner of White Cross Productions.
Correct.
That's handle film, group of films and movies. Man, tell us about this, man. Tell us.
So thank you. So I was a photographer and I was traveling all around the world shooting, and I ended up getting really sick, and they didn't know what was wrong with me, and I ended up in the hospital literally on my deathbed. They were giving me my last rites. My kidneys were failing, and they didn't know what happened. I had no idea what had happened.
Sorry to
and I was on my deathbed, and the pastor came in and did my last rites, and they were asking me if I was an organ donor and all the things, and told me that I wouldn't live by the end of the day. And so I had a miraculous miracle happen in the hospital room. Sorry.
No worry, man. Be yourself, man.
And I had a miraculous healing, and I was healed immediately. And that's a whole nother story. And I came out of the hospital, and my life had changed, and I didn't know really why, but I had a really close experience with death. And I started having dreams after that, and I felt like God was speaking to me in my dreams. And he was sharing with me. It sounds so weird to talk like this. But I started having visions, and I'm hearing God speaking to me and telling me that I was going to own a company, and it was going to be called White Cross.
Awesome, man.
And it was going to be like a white tent, and he was showing me battlefields.
You had a premonition.
I was in my sleep dreaming, and I was out in these big fields in the night, and there were bombs going off, explosions all around, and there were soldiers laying dead in the floor on the ground, and there were these white nurses, and they were like angels flying out into the fields picking up these wounded people. And they were picking him up and they were flying him into these white tents. And God was showing me that I was going to be that person, that I was going to be a refuge for people in a triage of hurt people in the entertainment business. Sorry.
No worry, man. No worry.
And that I was going to be called to go help people that have been lost in this business and hold their hand. And so I would wake up from these dreams and get my journal out and start writing these dreams that I was having, and they were so real, like nothing I'd ever experienced before. And so I started writing the name White Cross and these white tents and army people and nurses and angels and holding hands with people. And I was being shown that I was going to go back to my roots, to when I started in the 8th grade, skateboarding and hitchhiking and going around finding kids to bring them into this business, but not just bring them in and let them go, but to hold their hand.
Hold their hand, help them out. Visions them.
And so I opened my company. I left all my agents. I was like, made a ton of money. I had everything I'd ever wanted in my life. Had the houses, the cars, the travel. I had friends with every movie star, every supermodel. I was traveling, like living the world that the world tells us we need to have to be
At
cool.
the climax.
And I realized all this time, like I was cool and I was thankful, but I wasn't happy. And I felt like there was something more. I kept saying, there's something more. Like I get
something missing. You know?
There's something missing. And so I ended up opening my company, White Cross, and I went back to my roots, finding kids. And I was going to not just scout them and place them with agents and walk away and say good luck, but now I was going to scout them, brand them, manage them,
navigate
and hold their hands and their families' hands. And so I discovered, you know, I was in a barn shooting a job for Macy's up in Granby, Colorado. And I saw this girl in the barn with her horses. And I went up to her, I said, hi, what's your name? She's like looking at me like, who are you? She had glasses on and a baseball hat. She's brushing a horse. And I said, my name's Jim Jordan, what's your name? She goes, my name's Taylor Hill. And I go, Taylor, is your mom here? And she goes, yeah, she's outside sitting on the bench over there. So I walked over to her mom and I said, I'm Jim. I'm a photographer, I'm shooting, I'm a talent scout and photographer, I'm shooting a job. You see my crew here with Macy's. Is that your daughter? And she goes, yeah. I go, your daughter's amazing and could be a supermodel. And I discovered Taylor. That's where I discovered her. And that was one of the first girls that I brought into White Cross. And so her and her mom moved into my house and I taught her everything, like how to look people in the eye and how to be in front of a camera and all of it. And so I started my management company and started developing girls and guys, girls models, male models, actors, music people, singers. I started going around the world scouting. And Jeremy Meeks, you know, the story with Jeremy, the hot felon, the prisoner. And then
You took him from a prison?
Yeah, then I met Jeremy. I got in touch with his family and started. We had a phone call every Monday, me and Jeremy, for a year and a half, and just started speaking into his life and loving the guy and just sending him books to read.
Real example for a generation.
Teaching him about the business and reminding him who he is and what his potential was, because he couldn't see it. All he knew was the streets, and he never knew he could ever do any of this. And I just spoke into his life, what could it be? And he started seeing my vision. I took him out of jail, was up there, picked him up, took him out of jail, and moved him in my house, and just brought a world around him.
You're hosting a lot of people in your house. Taylor Hill's mom and
yeah. So I just love helping people, and that's my heart, is to help and teach and educate people on the space and the business and how to be great at being in front of a camera. It's fun. It's like teaching people. It's like people.
Think
it's
outside
like
the box.
dancing with people.
Yeah,
it's like
dancing. It's just great vibe, energy. Just break up the ice and the boundaries, you know.
Yeah, And so we did that with Jeremy and put a world like I did Taylor, put all of her agents in London and Paris and New York and Miami and all around the world. Is like with Jeremy as well. Put agents in Paris and LA and New York and traveled around the world, went to Russia a couple times and Israel. We went everywhere.
Great, man.
And like those experiences, seeing people see life for the first time like that, it's priceless. Being someone that could help somebody open up their world to our world, like this is the best, coolest business. Fashion, beauty, everyone's like...
Take someone's hand to navigate in positions and so.
So I started my management company and then I opened my production company called White Cross Productions. Like I said, I left all my agents and I brought in all my own employees and taught them how to produce jobs and be my agents. And so it was basically a one-shop stop. One shop stop where we could do our own advertising campaigns. We could do from art direction to layout, storyboards, locations. We did everything. We booked the makeup, the hair, the styling. We do all the casting. And so that's what my production company, White Cross, does. So now my company, every job I do, my production company produces the commercials or music videos or magazine campaigns that we're shooting, as well as my management company, White Cross Management. I'm always scouting still. We get a ton of submissions every day of people that want to be represented by our company.
Awesome, man.
And we love to help people. So
great, man.
Anybody listening, we're always searching for the next superstars. So
that's a great, man. Great talent.
So that's kind of where this has all led me, taking pictures, and it's taught me a lot about the business and became a businessman in the midst of being a creator, even though I never knew I was an artist. But I love seeing things and letting the world see how I see things. And I use my camera to show people how I see the world. And that's kind of how I...
You have your own vision. It's not like your own vision.
Like I have a gift to see things before the world really sees it, before it's presented to them. And that's what I love doing.
Great, man. Awesome, man.
I was very instrumental with Gigi Hadid, working with Yolanda. Her mom's a dear friend of mine. It was the most beautiful model. I shot her many, many times.
Role example.
And then I was in Malibu, John's Garden in Malibu, and I saw Gigi on the swing set, and she was holding a little baby. I think it was one of her nieces. And then I went up to Gigi. I said, "Are you a model?" And she's like, "No, I go to high school and I play volleyball." And I go, "You should be a model. Is your mom here?" And she goes, "Yeah, she's over there." I go, "Can I talk to your mom?" And I walked over around the corner, and David Foster was there with Gigi, with Yolanda. And I was with my friend Carrie Elways. He's the Princess Bride, the actor in The Princess Bride, and his wife, Lisa Marie, my best friend. And so they walked up with me, and we walked around the corner. It was David Foster and Yolanda, and they knew each other. So David was like, "Carrie, how are you?" And Lisa. And Carrie was like to Yolanda and David, "This is Jim Jordan. He's a famous model scout, famous photographer. He saw your daughter, Gigi, and he scouts the biggest models in the world." And so that's when I looked at Yolanda, and Yolanda was like, "What do you think, Gigi?" And so I started asking, we started talking. And then I looked at Yolanda, I go, "Were you a model before? Are you from Holland?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I was a model many, many years ago." I go, "I think I did one of my first photography jobs with you. You used to have bangs?"
Bangs, yeah.
Did you used to have bangs when you were a model? She goes, "Yeah." I go, "I think I shot you in a house in Malibu for Mirror magazine from London." And she's like, "Oh my God." And I go, "I remember shooting you with the telescope with the futuristic silver hot pants on and a silver metal top." And she's like, "Oh my God." She goes, "What's your name again?" I'm like, "Jim Jordan." She's like, "Jim." So we had a reunion in the Discovering with Gigi. And then I ended up taking pictures of Gigi and ended up making her meetings in New York with IMG and was instrumental in helping Yolanda and Gigi with her career. And we're dear friends. And I was on a TV show with Yolanda, making a supermodel with Yolanda Hadid. And so Yolanda brought me on the show, and that was super fun in New York shooting
awesome,
that.
Man.
And I just love helping people, however it is to help people, not just to become models, just to help anybody, like just make life easier for people. That's what I love doing.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for that gift, man. Really appreciate it. Let me ask you last question. We're going for break. You're a big advocate, you know, really big advocate, running towards the fear, through the fire.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the self-doubt, man? And what's your, you know, fulfillments, you know, your goal, you know, your success, man? Tell us about it, man.
Well, the things, I've done a lot of work, and I've done a lot of soul searching, and I've done a lot of experimenting on where my peace was going to come from, and the voices in my head, and recognizing the voices of a stranger, of what those voices are. And the voices, we all have them. And we hear a really small voice that I call God's voice, and we hear really loud voices in our head that aren't God, it's the world. And so I've been to being able to decipher what's God's voice and what is the world's voice. And I ran around most of my life listening to the world's voices in my head that kept me from becoming a photographer and kept me from the fears of everything that I could see potential. And so I started to realize that the things I'm most afraid of are the things I need to run toward, and that my miracles are on the other side of those. So when I run through the fire, there's my miracle on the other side. But it's the walls and the things, like, I don't want to say it's like the quantum field, or people use different words like the enemy or God or the light or the darkness or the good and the bad or the yin and the yang. We can put a million different names on it. But I believe that I've learned to run through the fires of the things I'm afraid of, and every time I do that, my miracle's on the other side. The light is standing there with its arms open, waiting for me. And so those are the things that have really endured. I do a lot of journaling every morning. I journal. I write 3 pages. I did a book.
Diary.
I did a book that changed my life in the beginning. The week I became a fashion photographer, I was doing a book called The Artist's Way. It's a 12-week workbook. I recommend it for everyone in my life. Every model, everyone I work with, I recommend The Artist's Way. And part of that work is doing journaling every single morning. It changed my whole life. And I meditate in the mornings. I do a lot of seeing my future in front of me, and I don't wait for it or want it or hope for it. I wake up and I have an intention of the things that I have already. And then I walk in the joy that it's already here, not it's coming. It's already here. So I try to get my body to feel that I have everything. Freedom and travel and finances and everything to embody that. And when I do that, not wanting things and using the word wanting and hoping and trying, I don't use those words, but I am trying to be very cautious of the things that I say and what I speak out of my mouth.
Awesome, man. That's really inspiring us and inspire the audience.
And I talk to God all the time, and I'm always speaking things. You know, there was a while back during the COVID and all the magazines, everything had shut down. And I find myself shooting for so many magazines that don't pay anymore. The magazines aren't paying anything, but all they want is content. They all want pictures. They want to keep their doors open, but they all want, the business has been literally ruined.
Different
It's
world.
very different. So I'm like, why don't I open my own magazines? Why am I shooting all these jobs for giving it to all these magazines? Why don't I open my own magazine?
It's called James Magazine.
Yeah,
Right?
so I opened a magazine called James Magazine.
Yeah.
And I, started featuring like Zendaya on the cover,
Zendaya,
and Kris
Taylor.
Jenner, and Gigi, and
yeah.
Taylor.
It has 8 issues right now, or 10?
I think it's 10.
10 right now. Great.
So it's like a new magazine. I also opened a new magazine called Major Magazine.
Major, yeah.
And it's all kind of my it's a men's magazine, and it's all like military inspired, kind of like the vision I had in my sleep with the military and the dream.
Military vibe, yeah.
White Cross. I also have another magazine called White Cross Magazine, and James, Major, and White Cross. So I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm moving into the blockchain world. I'm merging. They're calling me the pioneer of the metaverse. I'm doing a lot of merging big entertainment companies into into blockchain, into good digital collectibles and NFTs and metaverse. I'm doing a big project right now that I brought LeVar Ball and his 3 NBA sons, Jamelo, Jello, and Lonzo, into. We're building a metaverse. I'm doing another one with American Ninja Warrior with my producing partner, Kent Weed. He produced American Ninja Warrior and Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen.
So I'm doing bringing a lot of big entities into blockchain and into the metaverse, and that's really exciting times for me. And always pushing new boundaries and
break up the boundaries, yeah.
Yeah.
Break up the ice.
Doing really things that keep me on my toes, and keep me learning all the time.
Great, man. Thank you, man, for that part. And
thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going for a break. It's getting out of control here. Stay tuned for our next part with Jim Jordan at Karma Fashion TV.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Karma Fashion TV. My name is Malin, and I'm a professional model.
My name is Olga, and I am a professional model.
Hi, this is Frany, and I'm a professional model.
Enjoy the show!
Artful, glamorous, variety of textiles, traditional, ceremony, ethnic, prints, colorful woven, bohemian, handmade, chic, art of batik. Lindie Sayman by the Lynch Couture.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, at Karma Fashion TV. My name is Wesly.
My name is Malin.
My name is Olga.
This is Frany.
Hope you guys enjoy
The show!
Only at Karma Fashion TV. Stay tuned.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, at Karma Fashion TV. Today we do have one of the elegant fashion designer and the greatest female model, as you can see here. Guys, tell us about yourself.
My name is Lindie Sayman. I'm a fashion designer, especially in customized or couture design.
Great. And you?
My name is Malin, and I'm a model.
And you?
My name is Olga, and I am a model too.
Awesome. And you?
My name is Frany, and I'm a professional model.
Great. You guys have a great vibe, by the way. So tell me, how much time do you spend crafting and embroidery your own design?
Well, Wesley, I spend a lot of time on each one of these design. I do the pattern making, I do the cutting, I do the picking up all these fabrics, and each one of these it depends. It could be 1 week, could be 1 day, could be 2 days. And for fact, the middle one, this outfit here, I spent 2 days to complete it.
Awesome. So I caught you today during the photo shoot. What are your favorite venue to perform in?
Well, it was exciting for today, the photo shoot. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're more than welcome.
TV.
We're honored to have you.
Thank you, Karma Fashion TV. My favorite is that to have all my models perform and show my creations. And then secondly, I love to dress up especially the females, the women. So I love when I see they're looking beautiful. And it's just my passion to make each one of the women looking beautiful. And I think all the women deserve that.
Right. Woman is a fashion, guys. Well, thank you for your time.
I'm sorry, but then a man too. And look at Wesley. He looks so handsome in my suit.
Thank you.
Really, really nice.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for your time, and my best wishes for your all guys' career. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's all exciting.
And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And guys, stay tuned for next interview at Karma Fashion TV.
Karma Fashion TV presents.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, at Karma Fashion TV. My name is Wesly.
I'm Jim Jordan.
Enjoy!
The show!
Only at Karma Fashion TV. Stay tuned.
Welcome back at Karma Fashion TV, second part with elegant celebrities, notable figure Jim Jordan, as second part of interview. Welcome back, Jim Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here today. And thank you for sharing your story with us, for inspiring us today. So let me ask you this, you're writing a book and you had a bestseller with the New York Times. And how was your experience through this, and how was your creative process look like?
The experience was amazing. I never expected to be writing a book, an autobiography about my journey. The process was very healing and bringing up a lot of things in my past that I had forgotten about, and a lot of things I revisited in this process. Unexpectedly, it's turned now into a Netflix series about a young kid coming of age
Congratulations, man.
and finding his way, and it was amazing. It was beautiful, and I'm really thankful I had the opportunity to share with people like the things that I have done to walk through the fire and come out on the other end, you know?
Great, man. What? You become a businessman as well, but you were hated to be a boss. How do you get into this?
I was an artist. I'm an artist, and all I wanted to do was just take pictures and run around with a camera in my hand and to go to jobs. And I saw a lot of things where I wasn't being paid, and my people that were around me, my agents and that, it was just, they knew I was very unbusinesslike. And just by a lot of trial and errors and people, you know, stealing and agents and
Yeah,
different
you've
people
been through,
around
I
me,
heard about you this.
I was forced to become a businessman and learn business and take the reins and leave all my agents and bring it all in-house and train the people how I wanted people to be working with me and around me. And I learned just how to do it all, how to do quotes and bills and invoicing and all of the type of things that incorporate my different companies. And I just quickly learned to be a businessman, and I realized that all things are possible. Like, we don't need to have titles, and we don't need to have certain types of things to become something.
Awesome,
And I
man.
just said, I'm gonna just go for stuff. I'm gonna make it happen. And along the way I learned, and it's how I've ended up here today, you know?
Great, man. Thank you for letting us know this.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, like, what's your arsenal tool in your photographer, you know, and how do you spot a good light, and what is your creative in a photo shoot?
My arsenal, I use a lot of different things. I use a lot of different types of cameras. I use Leica as my camera of choice. I use Canon as well. I use, to get my clients and find out the clients that I want to shoot for, it's a company called Agency Access. It's a database that they put together of all the magazines, ad agencies, art buyers. It's an amazing resource. I also put my photos on a company called Found, and that they promote my photos out there. So art directors go to this website and they look for photographers, and it's called Found. It's an amazing resource. I use my retouching pen. I use a thing called Wacom. It's a Wacom tablet, and I use that for all my retouching. I back up all my images on a hard drive called Synology. It's a RAID system. So I'm always using different products, different things, and I'm just having the right gear is really important, and not saying when you're a photographer you have to have all the lights and bells and whistles. I started off as a photographer very simple with one light, and I encourage people, and that's my style. I use other than I find the light. and I know how to position somebody in any type of lighting situation and get the best lighting on somebody. So I'm always looking at the face or looking at the talent to find the light on how it's looking on them.
Great,
So I try to keep it very simple. My style is very open and airy and clean and bright and really, you know, happy and clean, and that's
Out
what
of
people
box.
describe me. They're like, wow, his lighting's very clean. They could spot my photos when they see my style. They're like, oh, that's JJ's pictures.
Great.
So I've kind of developed a style that's my own, and I'm really thankful for the job that I get to do, and just waking up and going to great shoots, meeting great people. I have the best job ever.
Yeah, man. Okay, so you're a multi-talented person, you know, producer, photographer, notable figure person, role example for all generation around the world, world renowned. So what are your favorite venue to perform in?
My favorite venue, like locations?
Not
or-
venue as a photographer or as a producer or as a director. Or
Oh.
What's your favorite venue?
If I had to choose one, I'm a perfectionist and I'm a control, like all the best photographers you'll ever meet are very in control. So I have OCD and everything has to be in its perfect place, and that's how I am. So when I'm multitasking on all my jobs. I'm producing, I'm directing this, set the catering up there, and it's just how everything feels
Me
around
too, yeah.
me.
I do this
And
too.
so I'm always moving the things or the props, and I'm running in, adjusting the clothes or clipping the clothes. I'm in the hair. I'm kind of doing all of
Different pose all the time.
And I don't have one thing, and that's what I try to encourage photographers. To be a great photographer, you have to be a great stylist. You have to have a great eye. You need to know hair. You need to know makeup. You need to know technical lighting and how to communicate to people. But no, if all of that went away and the hair's bad and Vogue gets your pictures, the hair looks bad, that's your fault, the photographer's fault. It isn't the hairdresser's fault. It's your fault because you didn't notice it was bad and you didn't say something to the hairdresser or go in and fix it yourself. So I encourage photographers, learn all of it. You have to learn all of it to do yourself. And by me doing makeup and hair all those years and working with hundreds of stylists, I learned and I watched. So that's how I got my foot up, because I could do it myself, and I didn't need to pay all these people to be around me to create a beautiful image. And especially new photographers out there, they don't have big budgets to pay a bunch of people to
What's your
get this
tips for
shot.
them? Yeah.
My tip is learn yourself. Have an eye, a hawk eye for every bit of detail. How the fingers are, how the lips look, how the posture is. Like, learn how to communicate and tell people, talk to people, tell them, move them, let them be your model, let them teach them.
Break
a lot
the
of
ice.
people, it's like giving an actor telling an actor to go perform for a film without giving him a script. It's like a lot of movie stars hate being in front of a still camera because they don't have a character. So when I shoot an actor, I'm completely telling them what their character is. I'm talking to them. Then they're like, whoa, do like this, be like that, make your brows like that, look like that, smirk, like you're dealing the cards, and be like James. I'm always telling them a story. I'm always communicating.
Every image you have has a story.
Every image, every photo shoot I do, I go into with an intention. And I have pictures in my head constantly that I want to get out of my head and onto the paper. So I could look at you and I see exactly how I would photograph you. I already seen it. So when I get you in front of my camera, I know exactly how you're going to look the best. I know exactly how you need to be. I see your best angles. I know what I want to do.
Great, man.
So that's my intuition. That's my gift, is that I have vision for people. And I want to take your picture so I could show you how I see you. And people are like, whoa.
Lifetime
And a lot
picture.
of it, like a lot of people I get in positions like, this feels so awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm like, just watch. Whoa. And then you show them, they're like, that doesn't look like that feels at all. So it's about just taking charge. It's like working a piece of clay. It's like the rock that Michelangelo can out of it. He already saw Michelangelo in that rock before he started chiseling. That's how I see. That's what I see when I'm taking pictures. I already see what I'm going to see, even though the world it's not even seen yet. That's how I discover a supermodel. Millions of people walk by this person. No one even says you should be a model. I see it, and I'm like, whoa. I know how my camera is going to see that, even though it's not out yet.
Yeah.
And that's what I love.
The picture is an image before it's come out.
Yeah, my head, the pictures are already in my eye, in my mind. Like when I meet you or I see people, I'm like, that girl's hair should be like this. She should have red hair. She should blah, 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 blah. The hair's da, da, da. I know, like right away. I know to me what I know looks good to me. And what's translating what looks good to me has made people a lot of money. I find girls that are making $30, $60 million a year.
Hopefully one day we'll make it.
Yeah, and that's the gifts that I love to impart on people, is to show them who I see them, who they are. I discover girls, like major girls, and they're like, why do you see all that from me? I can't live up to your expectations of what you see from me. And I say to them, like, that's my job, is to show them who I see them to be and get them to believe it. Because if they don't see what I see, we can't do that together. But if I can get people to see what I see and believe that the world, anything is possible, and they can believe that, then we can do that. It'll happen.
Great, man. Thank you for telling us this advice and tips. So let me ask you the last questions for this part. So what is one message would you like to give young version of yourself, and one message you would like to give your fan and generation around the world?
The message is to obviously love each other and hold hands with the world and the people around us to see this beautiful place. And I think that it's such a gift just to be here and experience what we do, and find your creative self and do everything you can to uncover and rediscover our creativity. That's the gift, because that's all we have. It's not about the money and what we can buy and who we know and the cars we drive. It's about our creative gifts and giving that out into the world.
It's about the spirit
and just doing that. Like, there's so many things I'm seeing. Like right now I'm working on bringing the fashion world to Dubai. So they're using me as the face of the guy that's going to bring fashion, the Dubai Fashion Week to Dubai, Mercedes-Benz.
Awesome, man.
So, and bringing the Cannes Film Festival to make the Dubai Film Festival.
Great,
so I'm
man.
working on a project right now to bring into a whole new world the fashion industry, bringing the big designers to Dubai. And I have so much great things that I'm excited about doing, and I know all things are possible.
You're fostering young kids, navigate them, positions them, put them in the right path, with the right person.
Yes. And I just encourage people to find good mentors. It's not about going to college to learn things. I love college and it's great, but I think the life experiences are the things people need to get into the trenches, get their hands dirty, and just make mistakes, fall down, but get up again and learn. Like, my story isn't all roses and it just happened overnight. I had some very, very hard times and very scary, lonely times.
Thank you, Jim Jordan, for having you today here. And thank you for sharing your story with us. And thank you, we really appreciate your story with us. And thank you for inspiring us today. And thank you, man, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, guys, stay tuned for a next interview at Karma Fashion TV. It's getting out of control here. Stay tuned.
give it a little bit of looking room.
Yeah, when I'm
Don't cut the top of my hair.
yes.
Don't cut this.
Most times I'm
Don't cut
Yeah.
my hair.
You're going to be sitting the whole time. You're not going to be standing up at any
No,
point.
no, no, yes. I'm just gonna move my hand.
Okay.
Because I'm excited.
Good.
It makes me
I just want to make sure. All right.
That's the city hall.
Jim Jordan, guys. I'm excited.
No, it's just like it's gonna take time for him. Yeah.
Are these like episodes? How long is this?
Yeah, episode. Yeah.
Actor, entrepreneur, multi-talented person. Jim Jordan Photography has been featured on the biggest magazine in the world. Did you fall from the sky or from heaven? Yeah, fire, they are taking capture. We need to capture every moment. Shit down!
Okay, guys. Thank you for watching us for this episode. Karma Fashion TV. It's getting out of control here. Stay tuned for the next episode on Karma Fashion TV. Karma Fashion TV.
Hi, my name is Jim Jordan. I'm a celebrity fashion photographer director. I'm excited for my interview with Wesly and Karma Fashion TV. Stay tuned.
Look at me now. 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3.
All right, ready?
Yeah. So I can have in the middle also.
Tell me what part of me.
Alright, so 300. I thought 400 is too low.
Yeah, I don't remember. There were so many people there.
the end of this month, it's coming the production, the marathon, we are going to be there. We're going to be there, and then we go, and then okay. But yeah, it's quite a drive.
Let's go step back. Move your foot. Okay, look, Williams. Good. Stand tall. Good. Put your hands here. Do your thing. Make your fingers straight. Good.
Someone from the back, please.
Can somebody style the clothes? Can someone pull out the dress? Help them. Pull the back of her dress out again so her dress, the body of her dress is out. Yes? Yeah, this side is this. Okay. You can sit in, you can sit in. Look at each other. Lay your head on her shoulder. Like that, lean your head. Freeze, like that, down there. And I prefer you to be more, can you just stand here? Yes, and turn toward me more. And stand wider. Good. There we go. And put your hands here. Like this. Just turn and put this up. Yeah. And put your legs wider. Chin down, honey. Right there. Chin down, girls. Chin down. 1, 2, 3. Look at the girls, Baba. Look at them. Look at the tall.
Yeah, no, you're good. Do you want this one?
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. You see the picture.
You can lean on your head.
Right there.
Just give me a triangle.
Everybody's ready. Please.
One smile.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Just smiling. All the shots.
Beautiful.
Take a shot. Yeah. Take a shot. Thank you.
Here, this camera.
Smile. This. Close
Down
up.
a little. Yeah, so the sun's your jacket, put a thumb in there. You can kind of grab all of it.
Good.
Stay right there. Side.
Look at me.
Excuse me. Let's see. Better. Turn your shoulders to me.
No, for me, he's nice.
Okay,
Here,
okay,
here.
take you first then.
Here, guys, for me, chin a little bit
Serious,
up,
smiling.
smiling.
Now one more low angle please. Here, in this camera, and please come a little bit this side. Yeah. Alright, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now for me,
That's nice.
here, the close up, everybody looks tiny.
Close-ups.
Serious, smile.
Serious, smiling.
What?
What do you need is Wesley, you need a smiley, we need a serious picture.
And yell again.
Chin down a little bit, Jim. Good girl.
Diva.
Here, I'll lift full body.
Sigma, bro.
Okay. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand there.
I don't know, is it gonna be me or you?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what is the designer? Can I have you step in, please? Yes, you know. Okay.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a second.
Close your jacket at the bottom. Stay there. And then just close the lips.
We need to
Cross your fingers more.
take it out of the... Okay, are you able?
Do you have lip gloss? If you want, I can powder them and you can just like I can powder him. Go ahead, get the lip gloss. Even if you get a clear lip gloss.
Do I like anyone or somebody
No,
like
no,
anyone?
you're perfect. Everybody's on the frame. Everybody's.
Okay.
I'm good?
Okay.
Look at me
Jordan,
here, my
look at
camera.
me.
1, 2, 3. Here, I'm getting a close up. Look at my camera, please. 1, 2, 3.
Beautiful.
Yeah, put your hand in the pocket, yeah.
I think the other way was better. Yes.
Bea, right? Raise your hand, Bea.
Here,
Okay.
and
I'm sorry. Excuse me, could you please indicate like my arm?
Hi, guys.
could you help her, please, Olga? Because she's her. And also, to look at the camera, maybe like do the thing that she's doing, like look at the light, or like imagine you are taking a sun at the beach, something like that, like just to relax.
Okay, so Jim, direct us for this shot.
Look over here, and eyes at me. Smile, and now the top of your head this way. This way. And like that, right there, and chin down a little. Right there. Go in. Ready, girls? Boys? Smiles?
Okay, that's fake, right? You do a freestyle. Oh, okay.
Wesly,
I'm Jim Jordan.
enjoy
The show!
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Want to take a love shot? Yeah. What, you going for a close-up?
One of the elegant fashion designer and the greatest female model, as you can see here. Guys, tell us about yourself.
My name is Lindie Sayman. I'm a fashion designer, especially in customized or color design.
Great. And you?
My name is Malin and I'm a model. My name is Olga and I'm a model.
Awesome. And you?
My name is Frany Dilfuran.
Great. You guys have a great vibe. By the way, stand with
How are you?
My name is Olga and I'm a fashion model. Hi, this is Frany and I'm a fashion model. Enjoy the show!
My name is Wesly.
My name is Malin. My name is Olga. This is Frany.
Hope you guys enjoy.
The show!
Yeah, that's it.
That's a wrap!
That's a wrap. Okay, handshake, you guys.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching that video. Follow the account, YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. Yeah, that's bye. Bye bye.
Last person. Count to 20. Ready.